and native Christianity. Now, social media is a very interesting animal. Uh, Sometimes I think what's in people comes out in social media because depending on how open you want to be, you can keep your identity secret and all that other stuff. One thing I've observed is two groups of Christians. Now, I'm not saying this is true, it's not only two groups of Christians, but two groups of Christians that are distinctly out there. I call them positive and negative Christians. And I think they make the same mistake only in different directions. These positive Christians. These are people who are online and you see them and they never critique Christians or Christianity. Or at the very least, they never critique certain types of Christians. They are always rushing to the defense. They engage in an apologetics that Christianity is always good and Christians are always right. So yeah, you have this. Now, this is understandable. If you're a Christian, you want to see the good in Christianity, and you should see some good in Christianity, or else why are you a Christian? But the problem is, if you're only seeing the good and you won't acknowledge some of the problems or issues, then how can we fix some of the problems in the church that do exist? So the positive Christianity, the positive Christians, they don't give us an accurate picture. And thus, some of the issues that we should be trying to deal with don't get dealt with. On the other hand, there's what we call the negative Christians, or what I call the negative Christians. And these people, every time they're on social media, or it seems like every time, they complain about Christians. Now, usually there's a certain type of Christians, but sometimes they complain about the church in general. They complain about Christians in general. And obviously, I've on this channel have complained about things Christians have done. So I'm not saying complaint in and of itself, but it seems like this is the only thing they do. They never acknowledge something good that's happened, that Christians have done. They only pay attention to the negative things. I remember one time, a person who I think engages in this complained about Christians not helping someone alongside the road. And yet, this person should have known, because this person is an academic, that Christians are more likely to be helpful than the irreligious. So never anything positive. Which begs the question, why are you a Christian in the first place then? The only thing you're going to do is complain and say all of the negative things Christians have done. Why are you a Christian? Why not just leave the faith? I'm sorry. I mean, that sounds bad as a Christian. Why not leave the faith if there's nothing good about Christians or Christianity? And if there's something good, why not say it every now and then? Now, before I go on and discuss the implications of this, let me just say, if this sort of analysis you find interesting and insightful, consider subscribing to this channel. If you enjoy what I have to say, please comment or give me a like. If you disagree, comment. These things help to make this channel grow, and I want to grow to a place where people who are Christians, especially, who are not comfortable on the left or the right, have a place to come to and dialogue on these issues. Now, let me get back to this. If we're looking at Christians, let's acknowledge that there are problems. Some Christians do some things that are not defensible, point blank. On the other hand, there are reasons why Christians, I believe, on balance, make society better. And I believe on balance, there's more good than negative. This is what I would call accuracy. This is what I call reality. I think the answer is often nuanced and in the middle. We Christians are not as bad as the native Christians say, or as good as the positive Christians say. So if what we want to do is get something that's accurate, get something that is honest, neither the positive or the negative Christian is helping us. We should listen to them and take everything they say with a grain of salt. Maybe we listen to both of them and try to balance things out, or we try to have a nuanced understanding of our faith and of people who are part of our faith to understand where we're coming from, understand what we need to correct and what we need to emphasize. Christians should strive for an honest assessment of ourselves and of the larger society. And in doing so, to understand yourself, understand your faith, understand your group, your people, I think that's the key to happiness. I think unhappy people have a distorted view of themselves and the groups they're part of. And that leads to all sorts of dysfunctions that people may have. So I would argue that neither negative or positive Christian is where we need to be. If you're always positive, think, is that really true? What are you covering up? If you're always negative, is it really that Christians are that bad, that evil? And so why do you want to identify with the group so evil? And let me tell you, if you think so that I can correct them, this is not the way you persuade people. I've done a video on persuasion. Being negative all the time is not a very effective strategy. And my thinking is, you're being negative all the time, you're really speaking to other people who are negative. You're not really speaking to the group you're trying to correct. And you could probably say the same thing is true of the positive people. You're speaking to certain people, you're sort of inflating certain egos. So perhaps your motivation may not be as pure as you might think that might be. In my career, I tried to do this. When Christians are doing something that I don't see as right, I see as wrong, I will speak out on it. A lot of my stuff on race is speaking to the church and the way the church has fallen in dealing with racial issues, the way it should deal with racial issues, in a positive conversation instead of demonizing each other. On the other hand, when Christians are mistreated, I will speak out on that as well. I've done the work on Christianophobia. I'm doing research on white progressives, because there are times when Christians are mistreated. You can even see my work on identity politics. You know, I've studied anti-racism, and I've pointed out some problems there, but I also point out problems with Christians and their own version of identity politics. I'm not saying I'm right all the time. I'm not. I'm human. I'm fallen. But I strive to have a balance, to see good, because there is some good, and mistakes, because there are some mistakes. I hope that we as Christians who don't totally endorse the left or the right can strive for that sort of balance and strive for a real honest assessment where we need to be. Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope this has been very useful for you. And if you have, please come back so we can shatter some more paradigms.